everyone. It is episode 28 of this Treasure Inside edition, a special edition tonight because you get to see our lovely faces. I'm joined here by the management. The management, how are you doing? What have you been doing all summer?
Being drunk in a pool. That's what people who are single with no kids do, is just whatever we want.
I seem to remember that's what you were doing last time we spoke, so nothing much has
Yeah.
changed by the sounds of it.
Nothing has changed. Drunk in a
Okay.
pool, the end. I got drunk in a river one weekend. That was different.
A different change of scenery, I guess.
Yeah.
And we're joined again by Bruce on the ground. Bruce, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Chess. I really appreciate having me on the podcast again. I really had a good time last time. Got a lot of great feedback and people reaching out to share their solves and things on the Force Fen. So thanks so much. I appreciate it.
No, we loved having you on, and I'm really keen to see what you have for us tonight. I really loved what you had to present last time. I thought it made a lot of sense. We weren't on video last time, but you've been hunting, it sounds like, for months since we last spoke. I feel like I can see a few extra lines on your face of stress from the hunting for the last few months. How has it been hunting for these elusive boxes?
Yeah, well, unsuccessful. It's hard because this is it's a binary, right?
Yeah.
Either succeed or you fail, and
You
we've
kind of
all
get a box.
failed every time. So it's a little it's challenging, but a couple times out, I still believe that the Force Bend box is out. Echo Park Campground in Dinosaur National Monument. Made a couple discoveries there. We won't get into all that on the different things, but it's tough trying to figure out where the specific point is to look. So a couple actually went camping for the first time in my life because it's such a pain in the butt to get out there to Echo Park Campground that my wife's like, well, let's just go camping. I'm like, all right. And she went with me and she was a trooper, and we were miserable for 3 days, and I was grumpy that I didn't find treasure, and I'm never going camping again.
Really?
Are we talking tent camping, car camping, RV camping? Tent camping, so real camping.
Sleeping on the ground. Yeah.
Oh.
And the air mattress like collapsed in the middle of the night. So on the dirt. It was not fun.
Hammocks are the way to go. If you want to tent camp, get one of those hammock things, and that's way better than air mattress tent camping. Air mattress is always the worst.
It sounds lovely. I'm into hotel camping. It's my freaking. But I got kind of, I won't say roped in, but I had a couple of folks kind of like want to talk about the Beyond the Maps Edge. So I got into that, and one day I sat down with AI and ChatGPT, and I'm like, trying, looking at the clues and putting some stuff in, seeing what hits. And I found something that was very compelling, and ended up spending I made like 4 trips to Montana this summer.
Since we talked last, you've been to Montana 4 times?
4 times. And
I'm slacking. I haven't gone in there.
Are you working that one at all?
I have a lot of notes. So let's say that. Data collection is a big part of my life in general, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to move past that phase, to be honest with you. I'm wondering if like my data brain is just ever going to have enough to actually like make a solve from anything.
Yeah, understood. And like Justin said, I don't mean to get into this one too deep, but I mean it's a boots on the ground, and I believe that it is. I got to a certain point, and I got boots on the ground, and I had I found wisdom hiding or waiting in shaded site or shadowed site. Anyway, I'm going down the wrong solves, but
tell me more.
Yeah, no, well we'll chat after this, but it delved on some compelling stuff, but I don't know. I feel like I love that Justin is accessible, but I feel like he muddies the water sometimes with some of the things he says. Like he's completely derailed my solve by some things he said.
How rude.
Anyway, so it was kind of rude. Yeah, if you could reach out to Justin and let him know that he's just rude. No.
Bruce says.
Yes, exactly. No, trust me, he knows. He friended me on Discord, so he doesn't respond to me, but I know he reads my stuff, and I let him know how upset.
Wait, he requested you as a friend?
Oh no, he accepted my friend request on there.
Oh, I was about to say that's a real flex. That means he's.
Oh no.
You heard about Bruce.
No. I must be way off base though, because I felt like I was on track. Anyway, that's been very frustrating. Because I wasn't going to get involved with that one at all, but I did, and now I hate myself in my life. So
Sounds like it's the real treasure hunter life, just being frustrated most of the time. So
it is.
1% of the time it's exhilarating when you find it, and 99% is frustrating. But the sounds of it.
Well, and well, you haven't been boots on the ground yet, but I mean, when you go boots on the ground, you find things that start matching up. Like that was exciting. Like I was
Yeah.
in Montana and I found this and this, and I was like, oh, I'm on the right track. And
Right.
I thought I was like right there in the kind of in the pocket, but he said some things that made me question about myself. This is about the bride being alive, depending on your definition of alive. That threw my whole solve out the window. So anyway.
So, question, when you're talking about his cryptic stuff, like I follow him on Instagram and Facebook. I think he's on both of those. I don't know, but like I have seen a lot of very like cryptic, like borderline emo posts. Like as an elder emo, the early 2000s were some very cryptic status away messages, and I kind of feel like he plays into that, but he's also very political. And so are those the posts that you're referring to that are like throwing you off?
A lot of the interviews he does, I always say Justin has confirmation bias because he knows the solve, and when he says these things, like they're obvious to him, but it's like you're like, okay. So he reposted one of my pictures from my last trip
Oh,
and then
cool.
quickly deleted it because
Oh,
like I don't want people to know what that is, but yeah. So, but he reposts a lot of people's stuff, and again, I love that he's involved. I think I think that's great. I wish John was actually a little bit more involved, but maybe not. Maybe it would confuse the issue a little
well,
bit.
you know, it'd be really cool if
I like the
if
dichotomy.
if a certain hunt creator came on a certain podcast that's on episode 28. That'd be really cool, I
That
think.
would that
But
would be.
anyway,
Which one do you want?
we'll move on from that, I
You
think.
know what?
So last time you were on, Bruce, from what I understand, from the clues that you gave and the little breadcrumb of a trail of breadcrumbs you gave pointing towards Echo Park, people descended upon Echo Park to try and find that box, and it was very useful to people. So I'm very keen to hear what you have to say about, sorry for my pointing, I'm not being aggressive. So I'm very keen to hear what you have going on with the worst box ever made, the Pokemon box. So what are your thoughts about the Pokemon box?
Okay, I'm happy to give them to you. I hopefully you've read the chapter. I know I poked you on Discord, but hey, like at least have some knowledge of this before we get
I
into it.
read
I know
it. I
you and management aren't big fans of the Pokemon box,
didn't
so
make any sense of it, but I did read it and then moved
okay.
on. Yeah.
This might be a real one-sided conversation then.
Yeah, we'll just listen and nod. Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, let me get into what my goal is today was to talk about my methodology of how I approach pretty much any solve.
Okay.
This one in particular, I made some notes about this, and because I know it's great that people are out and this is one of probably the renaissance of treasure hunting, and what a great opportunity to get it started. And so many people are excited about it, but I feel like you have to have a plan, and so 30 years in the military, I've got a plan. So here's
I think
what
the first chapter of the book is make a plan.
Oh,
Make a
okay.
plan. Is that right? I don't. Well, there you go. Just so John's on the same page. So my methodology on this is big to small. Like
Yep.
the Pokemon box is big to small. The clues, that's how we start. We can start at high level and we work our way to the box location. So that's going into it. That's how I approach it. I also believe that it has to make sense. Like, and that it needs to hold up in the court of public scrutiny. I don't think John wants a bunch of people going, "Oh, that's dumb," or "This is really doesn't make any sense." Because especially like we're talking about earlier, management. Like once one box falls and the solve's known, like I think a lot more people are going to get involved. But if it's like, oh gosh, like that's ridiculously complicated, or it relies too much on random associations or whatever, people might be turned off by that. So I feel like it's got to make sense. Like a reasonable person has to go, and I know reasonable person these days is very muddy water, but we're all reasonable people here, so it'll all make sense to us. But so I kind of take that approach. It needs to be very logical and makes someone needs to go, that makes sense when you hear the solution.
Well, what a box to apply that to. It has to make sense. when he was on some sort of psilocybin drug trip when he wrote the whole thing.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
appears.
Again, then one, no one's going to find it. If it's that abstract and he was high.
Yeah, right.
And no judgment. Enjoy
No,
it.
do what you want. You know, it's America.
But by the way, I was going to say, before you move on, I think John Collins Black may have said that a lot of his boxes do start big and then get smaller and smaller, right? I do remember him saying that, like maybe allude to the state and then get down to a location, or am I imagining that? I believe he said that somewhere.
No, I think he said that about the Forrest Fenn poem. I think he said it starts high and
Oh,
and
okay.
its way through. And
Right.
I'm taking the same approach with the Pokemon box.
Okay, great.
And I think with the frustration with the Forrest Fenn box, the solve and not really knowing it and everything, I think that I'm going to assume that John and probably Justin made a real concerted effort for it to be logical and make sense. And
Yeah.
when you hear it. So anyway, that's
By the way, before we start, did you know anything about Pokemon before you started this box?
I did. I have a
Your
30
son did it, right?
I have a 30-year-old son who
Yes.
was big into Pokemon when he was 7 and is still big into Pokemon at 30. And so that's how I play Pokemon Go because that's, we played Pokemon Go. So anyway,
Okay.
but I'm definitely not like super knowledgeable. I can't tell you I don't know how, are you into it or all your kids into it? Or,
No, not at all.
yeah, management, I'm guessing you're not into Pokemon. There she goes. Okay.
Emo Pokemon.
Yeah, so I mean, trust me, I've relied on Pokemon experts. One being my stepson, who is the same age as my son, who's also big into this. He's helped me with some of these, but yeah, I don't think there's anything you can Google. Like a lot of folks talk about Hemden Hollow or where there's a trail in Arkansas people like. They Googled it, things like that. I don't believe that any place in the story that's mentioned is the location. People talk about New Orleans, Houston, the Ozarks, like out. I don't even consider
Hot
them.
take. Hot take for
Is it?
sure.
Well, to me, it's a puzzle, right? Like if I'm putting all this time and effort into a puzzle, I'm not going to go, here's New Orleans. It's right. It's here, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's my philosophy on how
That
I
makes
saw
sense.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
definitely is. Trust me, we've gone on Discord round and round and round about a lot of these things. So I expect a lot of not so friendly feedback this time, but that's just me. I'm also, I think I mentioned it too, like random associations and wordplay, things that you have to kind of be like, you have to read John's mind to get the answer. Like I've seen some really interesting trains of thought, but to me that doesn't really hold up in the court of public scrutiny. Like if one big thing is like Jazz Bar equals Jasper, Arkansas, like that to me that's a reach. Or Coltrane is a coal train, okay. Things like that. Like I want it to be very logical. I don't want to use random associations. That's me. And also a lot of people focus on the errors in the book. I don't look at them at all. I think that's if it's been corrected, it's out.
Yeah.
There is one error in this chapter that I actually do find relevant. But like people, the beginning of chapter starts, he was 5.5 years old. Like people like I've glommed on to 5.5 instead of 5.5. And I'm like, okay, like he didn't make this intricate puzzle I don't think, just to make this little phrase so relevant to your solve. I don't think.
And has that one been corrected or not?
I think 5.5 has been corrected. I don't know. I have a first edition book, so I haven't looked at the other ones, but I'm pretty sure it has. But yeah, so those are kind of my basic methodology of how I approach the solve. Big to small is is to me the most important one as far as this box goes. So
that makes sense. You guys have had a lot of time on your hands to be getting down to that level of detail. I've not.
Oh. I just want to, I wanted to really kind of like set this up and because I'm pretty involved solve here, I guess, but yeah, wanted to make sense. So I do believe that this is the family friendly box.
Okay.
I know he's mentioned.
That makes sense.
I think it does.
Pokemon.
Well, and the whole setup is a family vacation.
True.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I'm going to tell this great story about a family trip and it's Pokemon, which kids are involved in, but don't take your kids. It's somewhere really dangerous and you shouldn't take them hiking in this place to find the Pokemon box. I don't think that's it. Maybe the other ones, yeah, like where I'm at from the Force Fen box, I wouldn't take kids out there to hunt all day or whatever. But this one I think is very family friendly and very accessible. Another reason I believe that is because of there's three generations on this trip that he's going, John's parents and grandparents. Well, if you look at the Pokemon in here, Froakie, which evolves into Frogadier, I think, if I'm correct, and then into Greninja. So now you have three generations of
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Right.
And they also he references, he mentions an Elder Greninja. Now, Elder is not, as far as I know, isn't like a Pokemon thing. He
Right.
just mentioned it's an older Greninja. So is it like, because you're like, Froakie's the kid and Greninja's the grandparent? So that's kind of the parallel I've kind of drawn with the trip and with the choice of three Pokemon
Generations.
or in
Yeah.
that generation, right?
And I think we should reiterate at this point, John Collins Black has very explicitly said that you do not need to contact his family. However, have you done comparisons to his family tree? Because that seems interesting.
I haven't. Is there something that I'm missing? What have you found, management?
So I went down a deep hole on his family tree, and not to contact them, but I mean I probably could have and did a lot of. I think I was messaging you, Chaz, late one night when I was going down this rabbit hole, and I had found his multiple addresses way back when.
Oh, I think that's when I
But-
contacted the police. I remember now.
Training order.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, what is the third generation removed from John Collins Black at this point, and does it tie into somehow like a location that is not listed but proximity wise?
Definitely could be. I haven't gone a deep dive into that. I did find his dad on I won't say how much I've cyber creeped on him, but I've done a little bit. But
Me
yeah,
and Chaz have done Zillow walkthroughs of some of his properties together.
I did. I have to admit to that.
Very good. Now that's why I think it's interesting that he talks about the three generations his story of the trip to New Orleans, and then the three generations of Pokemon and the Elder tag on the Greninja, which also goes back to Froakie riding on John's shoulder. He slaps a lily pad on his backpack, which indicates Froakie is very small, which could be like a child. Also, there's a part of the story where Froakie leaves John and runs off with he sees some other Froakies. A lot of people think, well, that's a pond or a lily pad. I think it's a playground. I think it's kids. Yeah. So that was a boots on the ground I had. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So once I kind of made the family relationship here and established that, I was like, oh, that's where he ran off to, not a pond. It was other kids that he's running off to. So, because I do think this is a really family friendly place, and I'm not going to mention where it is. We're not going to get that level of detail because anybody could hop in their car right now and be there, especially if you live in the Alabama area. Spoiler alert.
But a playground you think is involved, right?
Yeah, I think the location, there's a playground there. There is. I've been boots on the ground in this place once, and things started getting mashed up. But after I left and did more homework, kind of had those aha moments that, oh wait, that's what this is. I didn't find a lily pad there, but there's a playground. And then when I made the Elder Greninja Association, things like that. So that's where I kind of am on that. And also, I think the story of John running into a jazz bar in New Orleans sets up the fact, because John's only 5 years old. Now, why a jazz bar is open after breakfast? Because he talks about they were eating breakfast and they ran out, and then the bar was open. The bartender and at 8 in the morning. I guess it's New Orleans. Fair enough, right? But I think it's the setup, like when he finds Froakie in the jazz bar, it's not out of question that Froakie was at a jazz bar, because John was in a jazz bar at 5.5 years old. I think that's the set where you go, well, if Froakie's the kid, he shouldn't be in a jazz bar. Well, John was in there. He randomly just ran in there. Maybe that's how he found Froakie. That's kind of
Is it actually a bar with alcohol, or is it a bar?
He says there was music playing.
Oh,
Is
you're
we-
like, you mean like a bar on a swing set?
Yes,
Oh, ha.
like
Yeah, there you go.
jazzercise bar, right?
Jazzercise?
Jazzercise, yeah.
So,
Oh,
that's that. A lot of people are getting a lot of pushback on the family friendly location from folks because John, I think, has said in interviews about like, maybe you don't want to bring your kids on some of these or whatever. But I do think this is the one exception. I think this is the family box means Pokemon. John has 2 young kids.
yeah, I think it makes sense.
I mean, it's like, yeah, like, hey kids, let's go, let's go hike, let's go find this Pokemon box. Like, I
Yeah.
think, way to get your kids out and go do something. So
I
again,
think it's probable. I'm going to move into probable territory on that
Okay.
one, rather
Thank
than
you.
just possible.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's good. So yeah, I think this is the one that's the outlier as far as that. And I think it's supposed to be. I think it's the most straightforward. I think it's because it is Pokemon. I think if you have kids that really know Pokemon, they can actually help you on this solve.
Yeah.
As my my stepson helped me with some of these actually. So anyway, so that makes sense.
Yep.
Methodology, kind of why I think this is a family friendly box and why I think that's where we're going.
Yep, for sure.
So your funnel here is going Alabama, family friendly, playground, lily pad.
No
No
lily
lily
pad.
pad.
No lily pad. I made that one up. Maybe a
Well,
lily pad.
Exactly. Well, not exactly, but those are things that are they're in the solve for sure. But
Okay.
so to start out, the route is to me is the first part of it. He talks about the circular route of the trip from Statesville to New Orleans to Houston and then back past the Ozarks. You're like, yep. Chad's like, no idea what you're talking about.
No, not really. No, I know the story, but I don't know the geography.
So anyway, in reading through this, like what the most definitive thing or the closest thing to a definitive route he mentions is they traveled southwest from their house in Statesville to New Orleans. And that was the picture I sent you yesterday, Ches, of just the route. If you go in and do a route, Statesville to New Orleans, you basically have I-85 and it runs southwest. Now, again, like there's a lot of speculative stuff in there. It's a circular route past the Ozarks, but what's the thing that you can glom onto? What's the most logical or what's something that you can grab a hold of that is at least a little bit specific about the route? And to me, that's the clearest one is the route from North Carolina to New Orleans. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where I get you start big. Now we're somewhere along the route. Where along the route is it? I think it's on that stretch between Statesville and New Orleans, right? So going into that, he talks about, okay, so now he's found Froakie in the bar. Talked about that a little bit. Here's what I think is important about that section of the book. Does John know where he wants to hide the box before he finds Froakie? Now I'll give you the answer because I've got my notes here and I've got the book. But he says that he wanted to find a Pokemon who might know the area he wanted to travel to hide the box. So he knows an area. An area is a very nebulous term, right? It can be anything.
Right.
So to me, that says he doesn't know exactly where the box is going to be hidden at this point in the story. Fair enough? Maybe
Yep.
that's tracking. Okay.
Yep.
So the assumption is there's not a definitive place, and he asked Froakie if he would help him find or locate the best spot. Okay, so Froakie's going with him. So now they're getting in the car, and as they drove, they listened to some John Coltrane. It seemed appropriate. Now, so what do they know about the final box location at this point? In my mind, not a whole lot. Maybe just the general area that he wants to go, something like that. This is where things get complicated. Not complicated, but this is where I'm the big outlier on Discord for where I think the box is. Right? I think this is, the Coltrane thing is. There's a song called Alabama by John Coltrane.
Okay.
So that seems, if the song seemed appropriate, let's talk about it, right? So is it appropriate because they were in a jazz bar and they were listening to Coltrane? Maybe, but what is that a lot of help to the story? Probably not. Sounds kind of like a red herring. Um, is it, to me, it's in the, if you go in the big to small methodology, you have the route, but now we need to find a specific place along the route to the area that we're looking at. Because the very next line after that is that they arrived, when we arrived at our hiking spot, the weather was sweltering. So we have the whole route of the trip, and then we have Coltrane, and then we have the hiking spot. So to me, big to small, like that Coltrane needs to point you in some kind of specific area or more narrow than just the whole route, right? So
Yeah, that
that's
makes
where I
sense.
really thank you. That's where I kind of hang my hat on the Alabama one, right? So and that's to me that's what makes sense to kind of bridge the gap between the route and the hiking spot. All right. So
So I've just been doing a little bit of Googling. And
sure.
so the John Coltrane song, Alabama, is a song about a um church bombing in Birmingham.
Correct. That's even more specific, right? You have Alabama. Then if you do a little 2 seconds of Googling about it, you have Alabama. So yeah, that's perfect management. You have Alabama, the Coltrane song. You do 2 seconds of Googling and you find Birmingham, Alabama. Now you have a specific location. And if you look along I-85, Birmingham's pretty dang close to that area. So, and as I can see that you're doing it right now. So that's where if they're not exactly sure where they're going to hide the box, a lot of folks that I've talked to online, they think that the Coltrane clue is a Coltrane, or it's Coltrane has an album called Giant Steps. Like to me, that's more of a location specific kind of clue. And it's pretty, you're making associations, you're doing wordplay, you're kind of, Giant Steps can be any staircase that you want it to be. Alabama can be one thing, Alabama, right? I mean, I think that's what Alabama means. So that's where I like the logic of Alabama. The other thing I like about it is that it seems appropriate. Now, if you're in your car and a song pops up and you're listening to it and you see the song title and the name of the artist, right? So let's assume they have their, John's in his car and says John Coltrane, Alabama on the display. You don't need to know anything else at all about John Coltrane to know that it feels appropriate if you're in Birmingham, Alabama, and you're driving, right? You see Alabama, I'm in Alabama, I'm driving, that feels appropriate. I don't need to know about John's wife. I don't need to know about that circle of music thing that people have been kicking around. That one, I don't need to know anything about any of his other works of music. Nothing, right? So all I need to know is I'm in Alabama and that's the song Alabama's playing. So hopefully that makes sense. And to me, that's totally defensible. Like, I don't know how if John goes here's the clue, it's Alabama. And it was the song Alabama, and I would think a reasonable person would go, that makes sense. You two
Yeah.
are reasonable people.
Yeah, so I think
I am not a reasonable person. Do not throw me in that club.
Well, I'm being, I don't know how reasonable you are, but
You're being generous. Thank you. I appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. Well, I think you're reasonable. Chaz, you were gonna.
Yeah, I was going to say, so if you walk through again your logic, which was well laid out in the beginning, he starts with, from chronologically in the story, he starts with the route that they took, okay? And then at some point, he starts talking about the area in which they were hiking. And there's only a very small gap in text between those two things. And he pretty much only mentions John Coltrane in that gap. Is that correct?
Yes, that's basically it. And the fact that he says it seemed appropriate after we were listening to John Coltrane, it seemed appropriate. That's like screaming, like, this is a clue. Hello, this is a clue. I feel like that's pretty clearly a clue. And like I said, bridges the gap between the route and the hiking spot.
Right.
And as like management pointed out, you Google it and you learn that it's in Birmingham, Alabama, which is along that I-85 route from Statesville to New Orleans. Not saying it's in Birmingham, but that's where they started driving from. So it
Yes.
gives you a very definitive location, a city, instead of just a circular route. So
Yep.
hopefully that makes sense with why I think that that's Alabama. So
Okay, so we've gotten down to Alabama, which is you so kindly gave away, and now people can search the entire state for that, and your reasoning behind it, and they got down to the hiking trail. Did you manage to get any further than that, or did you, and are you willing to share anything further than that you got to?
we'll see. I'm going to share a little bit. I'm not going to get into my full solve because one, it is very easy to get to. Two, I do plan on going out there in the next couple weeks, and I have a very definitive area I want to search, and and I think I told you I might want to maybe we do a part two when you can put it on the shelf for a couple weeks, and I'll be like, okay, I'm in Alabama. Like if you want to release it or whatever, and do it then because yeah, I don't want to get too much, but I do have some other things to kind of touch on there with that. So, the Alabama thing, like, there's only two things that I feel very, very confident in on the whole TTI book. One, that the Forrest Fenn treasure is in Echo Park. Two, that the Pokemon box is in Alabama. I'm very confident in that. And let me throw this out here. I'm going to throw this out there. Um, Again, I have a lot of people that think it's in Arkansas, and I get a lot of crap on Discord about it.
Hey,
I'm happy to debate people. If you wanna challenge my logic, go for it.
If you
Um,
want to argue, Bruce is the man.
if you want to bring it, just bring it. But I get a lot of, well, it's not in Alabama. I'm like, okay, tell me why. Tell me where I'm missing the boat here, right? Anyway, so I'm willing to have that debate. Just let's do it. So, but Chaz, I want to throw this out at you.
yeah,
Um, have you and your family ever been to Disney World, or do you have a bucket list trip that you want to go on with your family?
I have been at Disney World. Bucket list trip, sure, but there's many of them.
Okay, give me one. Give me one in the U.S.
I actually do want to go to New Orleans. Now you brought it up.
Okay, perfect. Here's how confident I am that's in Alabama. If the box is found anywhere else but Alabama, I will pay for your family round trip airfare and hotel in New Orleans. Okay, I'm saying it on here. It's recorded. I'll never be if I renege on this, then I'll never be able to show my face on your podcast or on Discord. So that's how confident I am that it's in Alabama, right?
I'm going to backtrack on that. I really want to go to Hawaii,
Yeah.
and
Yep. I was hoping you would say somewhere stateside that it was easily affordable by Southwest Airlines. So
I'd like to make note that Bruce is not offering to send me to New Orleans because he knows how much my bar tab would be.
oh,
So
that's right.
smart,
Oh.
smart move, Bruce.
all right. Well, you know what, management, I'll send you as well. If Chaz is willing to well, I don't know if I guess you go separate times because based on our conversation earlier, you have a different agenda than Chaz probably has for
Right.
spending time in New Orleans, right? So, yes, I'll send the offer to you too, management, hotel and airfare to New Orleans if it's found anywhere but Alabama. And I'll even throw this in. This is how, because the Arkansas thing is a big deal, right? I don't know how we landed on Arkansas, but it's a big group think kind of thing in my mind. Management, I will pay your bar tab. If the box is found in Arkansas, I'll pay your bar tab and your airfare and hotel. I know that might cost me thousands and thousands of dollars, but I'm going to do it. And Chaz, whatever. I'll throw in some Happy Meals for your kids or something like that if it's found in Arkansas. So that's how confident I am that it's in Alabama, and I'm happy to have
Wow.
the debate.
Wow. I hope this takes less than 10 years to solve now because we're
Yeah,
gonna have to move the treasure hunt conference. Not that we're in charge of it, but
I know you
Las
guys.
Vegas. It's got to go to New Orleans. That's where they love to have conferences. Is in New Orleans.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So,
Well,
um,
thank you very much. But according to you, you're not giving anything up. So
well, not yet. I mean, I'm
that's
going to
charitable.
but I'm going to go get it. So
Okay.
then it'll be over, and you won't get your trip or whatever.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do a trip together if I have the box.
There we
We'll
go.
get some Mardi Gras
Well, I'll
beads.
go. Well, I'll go to New Orleans if I get the box, right? So
Okay. Yeah,
that'll
true.
be fun. That'll be fun. We can do that. So, but yeah, I mean, that's that. The next step of that, I'll keep going, is the hiking trail, right? So I think it's very straightforward. It talks about not finding any fire Pokemon there. I think that's no smoking allowed in that area. I found the sign that at my location has that. No Mabostiff. So if you've read that, oh, I lost management. We're talking about Pokemon, so she's gone.
I think she's booking the
Mabostiff
flights.
I had
is
to go get a Pokemon.
oh, look at that. Oh my goodness. The Mabostiff's interesting to me because it's a later generation Pokemon. I know this because of my stepson. Um, and I'm not sure why he chose it. To me, I've defaulted to no dogs allowed. I think it's basic, straightforward, no dogs allowed. I don't know if John had, oh, you shaking your head? All right.
I have a big problem with any hiking, camping, anything where there's not dogs allowed. There's just something inherently wrong with that.
Well, I'll tell you offline why this place has no dogs allowed. So,
Okay.
but I think it's no dogs. There's a sign that has like no dogs allowed, no smoking, on this place I'm going to be at. I'm curious why I chose Mabosif. I don't know if he has like it looks like a bulldog if you've not seen it. So maybe John likes bulldogs. I don't know, but I did wrestle with that one. Is it something else? And I went round and round. So I've been boots on the ground for the Pokemon box a lot, and I've been probably a dozen locations throughout Alabama. And I was up in more in the Huntsville area and kind of had some other stuff. But yeah, I just ended up going like, okay, is this a family friendly solve? If it's Mabostif, then I'm just going no dogs allowed. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, so the next
Hmm.
part of that is the no Bouffalante. Brokey mentions that you won't see any Bouffalante there. To me, it's not a National Park Service trail. If you looked at the NPS logo, it has a little buffalo on it. I realized this is my very first boots on the ground trip. I was somewhere near Huntsville and I was hiking for like, 5 hours and get off there and I found this huge NPS sign and I see the buffalo on there and I'm like, oh crap. Okay, maybe I need to rethink this. But I think that helps narrow it down. If it says it's not a National Park Service, that helps lower the number of trails that you could actually go search. So I think
That's very good. Very interesting.
that narrows it down. Now, there's a lot of people out there that think that the no Buffalant is somehow is tied to Buffalo National River in Arkansas. That's the big solve, right? That's the general consensus. Um, I don't like it. It says no Buffalant. But
Hmm.
they're saying their logic that has been shared with me is it's no Buffalant because it's Buffalo National River, but there's no actual buffalo there.
Mm.
But but how common are
Double
buffalo?
whammy.
I mean, if I go to Buffalo, New York, do I expect to see buffalo? If I go to Buffalo Wild Wings, am I expecting to see a buffalo?
But it's
So
also doubling up on the word buffalo, right? Like you're saying it is buffalo, but there's no buffalo.
yeah, but they're saying it's no actual buffalo there. But
Yeah, I
I'm
know, but it's like it's kind of we're gonna take it as it is, but we're also gonna take it as it's not. It kind of is a bit strange.
right. And there's also a lot of pictures of buffalo there because it's Buffalo National River. So to me, it's a double whammy. Like it's named Buffalo National
Right.
River. It says that, John did a modicum of research. Did he really need to figure out that he wasn't going to see buffalo in Buffalo National River? I think most people would go, that doesn't, I know I'm not going to see buffalo in Buffalo, New York, or at a Buffalo Bills game or Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to see buffalo roaming around this place. I
Right.
mean, 'cause it just doesn't happen. But
Yeah, yeah.
he might have done a modicum of research to know that it wasn't a National Park Service place because he knew it wasn't no buffalo because of that. That's my logic on that. That one gets a little, argumentative, obviously, but that's what I think. I don't think you need to do a lot of research to know that there's no buffalo at Buffalo National River or Buffalo Wild Wings or anywhere else, or any dinosaur at Dinosaur National Monument. I don't think you need to do any research for that. So just a thought on that, on why I don't think that it's that Buffalo National River isn't it. And I also think that it's at this point in the story, we're getting details on the specific trail that we're at. People are taking the no Buffalant and moving it back to Arkansas and saying, here's where we're gonna search. But if you look at the big to small theory, then that's not where you are. You're jumping back to get the location while you're already at the trail. To me, you're at the hiking trail, but that's giving you a clue to back to where where you should find the trail in Arkansas, Buffalo National River. Does that make sense about, the big to small and the order of the story? I don't know. I think the Nabufalon is a trail specific clue. So it's saying it's not a National Park Service clue. It's not a bigger area picture, clue of what state or what, national forest or national river, whatever it is. So I see a
Yeah,
little,
so we
you
go
got,
with the route, we're up to Alabama, and then the very next one you're saying is the Buffalant,
yeah,
which
it's
is
a hiking clue. It talks about we're not going to see any fire Pokemon. There's no Mabostiff, or I don't think you're going to see a Mabostiff. There's no Buffalant. So I think that's all characteristics of the hiking trail,
yeah.
not jumping out of that into, no, it's going to be, we're going all the way back to Arkansas.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. You're the first person this month. I appreciate that. So
Where are
yeah,
you on Discord, Chaz, when all these people
I
are ganging
know
up on Bruce, man?
when I'm getting a lot of crap on it, I need you to like go in there and go, it makes sense. So, and you
Right.
you have credibility. You're the podcast guy. You're doing stuff, right? So, but I
Yeah.
think those are the arguments against Arkansas. And I think that, like I said, that it needs to make sense from big to small. It needs to make logical sense. I think, no Buffalant means no buffalo, and you're saying Buffalo National River and pictures of buffalo there. To me, it's a double whammy against. Also, the story talks about the trek that they go. He said they trekked back past the Ozarks, not through the Ozarks. Buffalo National River is in the Ozarks. So if you say you're going past something, does that mean you're going into it or, around it?
I think you could say you're going through it,
I
but
Okay,
feel like it's beyond.
I
Like
see.
you're,
Past,
yeah, move, calm down there.
so if you're past the Ozarks, then it can't be Buffalo National River because you're past it, right?
Correct. You have to go past it. Like
Right.
you're beyond, like you're exceeding.
which is
Exactly.
Alabama.
I, that's the other part.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you're probably not as familiar with American geography
It's like pass.
as
Yes.
but I think the point being is that we've just made like three or four different arguments about where past is and how what you define past the Ozarks
Yeah.
is. All
Right.
right. But if I say Alabama, is there going to be any argument about what Alabama is or what Birmingham, Alabama is?
Right.
I don't
No.
think so.
No. And so I'm not sure if you're getting to the end of this, but we haven't yet mentioned the playground. How does the playground fit into it?
Yeah, we're not going to get to that level of
We're not going to get into that. So I'd like to know, and you don't have to say where it is, but how big is the search area that you're looking for? Because Echo Park, I think, seems like it's much bigger than the area you're looking at here.
Oh yeah. Oh, Echo Park is ginormous. This place is not as big. It's close to it's he says he hid the box somewhere along the route. So it's not far off the interstate from where I'm at. So
Right.
you're probably you're someplace I want to say it's no more than 5 or 6 miles off the interstate from where you would jump off. I won't give you exactly where. So
Right.
I've actually posted this when I was boots on the ground. I've actually talked about the location and posted pictures. So, but that's been a minute. So
And it's
you'll
been
probably
it's
find
been
it.
pretty much the same spot each time you've been there.
I've only been to that place once, and again, it was like I had searched more northern Alabama near Huntsville, and I was like, and once I said, okay, let's not assume it's near Huntsville. Let's just open up all of Alabama and start looking. Excuse me, looking there. And I came across this place, and I'm like, we got to go check it out. So I had like a day and a half there to go check it out. The first day, I've literally walked every trail, and just clues are kind of falling into place. And after, studying the maps and all that, I kind of I got a spot. And so I had to head back, and it was May when I went last time. In Alabama, it talks about the weather was sweltering. It was sweltering, and the mosquitoes were eating me alive, and it was just so much growth. I'm like, I'm waiting until everything dies or gets at least cooler. So that's why I'm going
Yeah.
in November back. So I've been waiting. I've been
It
holding
doesn't
on.
snow there, right?
Every 10 years or something, you're gonna get a
Oh,
little
right.
snow. Yeah.
But Huntsville is nowhere near the interstate, from what I can tell.
I think there's an interstate that runs through Huntsville.
But the one, okay, so
Not
there's
mine. Not no. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Not the one
okay,
that I'm talking
okay.
about. So, right. And once I yeah, so there was a lot of things that kind of drove. Huntsville sounds like a perfect place to hide something, right? Huntsville, so yeah,
Treasure Huntsville.
hunt. Yeah, exactly, right. So I like that a lot. But again, I did a lot of boots on the ground. Things weren't making sense, and I finally opened the aperture a little bit and found this place. And I'm like, oh, okay, this, uh, yeah, this is a place. So. Yeah, I don't want to give away too much, but some of the clues that I will walk through. John, he says he thought he saw an Obstagoon. Again, I know you guys, your eyes are going to glaze over talking about Pokemon. Um, but Obstagoon have a big yeah, management is not enough. They have a big X on their shoulder. If you look at a picture of them, um, and I think there's an X marks the spot component to all the boxes. And I think this is one. And again, I'll share more with you. And again, if we want to do a part two and stick it in the on the shelf for a minute, I'll run through the entire solve with you guys, and you can see where I'm talking about. But I really don't
So
want
an
to make multiple.
Obstagoon, I just looked it up. It looks like a badger on steroids.
Right,
And
that's
the
what it
X
says
thing.
in the book too. Yeah, it was like Obstagoon are more like badgers, but the X I think is the key on this.
No, I love that. That's really great.
Because there's a sign in this location on a tree about 7 feet up an oak tree that has three X's on it, and it's where locals turn up. That's all I'm going to say about it. I posted a picture of it. I know, I'm very excited about it, but I blacked out the words on it, and it also, well, it looks like a jar of flies. The three X's are in like a little jar, and it looks like a jar of flies. That's
Okay.
another thing. I'll,
All
I'll show
right.
you guys. I'll show you guys after this.
Well,
That's right,
Patrick,
y'all. We get sneak peeks behind the scenes that we don't
Because they
share.
hate Pokemon, and I know they're not looking for
we're
it.
not going there.
This is what
But
happens when you talk shit to Bruce on Discord, is he keeps
you
all
don't
the
get the
good stuff.
goodies.
I
So
only share it with management and chess. Yep.
I've been waiting for you to get to though the picture, the pink picture on that. That was
Yeah.
like the most gripping of it. Are you incorporating that into yourself?
I that one was tough. That was my toughest one when I got boots on the ground. I was like, I have my golem. I have my place where locals turn up. I have no clue about this picture, but I think taking some time and stripping it down to like a straightforward solve, a kid accessible solve. I don't think there's as much to that picture as people are putting into it. There's a lot of Rorschach, am I saying that right? Rorschach tests going on with it, where people are seeing all the kinds of images and they're picking words out. And I think it's a Greninja. I don't think it's a Mewtwo, because the Greninja's in the story. It could be. I don't think it matters really, but I think the coin is where this ends up. So
Oh
I
yeah,
have
how does the coin play into it?
Yeah, you
yes,
and your coins.
the coin. So. The golem in my solve is very clearly indicated on a map of the location. Um, that's another thing. Like the rock that he sits on, like I think that's a permanent thing. There's some, it's not just some random rock. Same with the golem. Like it's on the map, and I'll explain it to you guys. So the coin, I think the circle on the coin is the golem. I think the point of the coin is where locals turn up from time to time. And then the offshoot there is if I did my measurement right, it goes into a creek bed,
Mm,
which looks surprisingly like the overexposed picture. It's just a big
right,
creek bed, right?
right.
And literally I think the which Mewtwo or Greninja is pointing towards this area that I have. It's a very small area on the map. It's probably like 50 yards by 30 yards, right? But it's very clearly defined on the map, and he's pointing back towards that. And I think that's where the area is. I think that's all it is to that. I think people are reading a lot into it, but
You are
and
going to
maybe
be excited, right? The day you land there, you are going to want to get to that 30 by 50 foot area ASAP, right?
there's a couple things. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm bringing my metal detector because I don't know if you follow John on TikTok, if you watch like since like somewhere in, I think after May-ish, maybe June. He started putting hashtag metal detecting on his videos.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? That's
really.
interesting because that was one of the big things at the beginning was that metal detectors are not allowed in national parks. And also, um, John Collins Black would have had to gone through a ton of permitting in order to put it in a national park because everybody was like, Forrest Fenn, we went through this. We did the Freedom of Information Act, records request. And I was trying to backdoor things to eliminate places. But if he started adding metal detecting,
Mm.
oh
It-
boy,
Not
what?
buried though. He said it's not buried.
Yep. You're right. But just there's a lot of overgrowth in this area. And I
Yeah.
mean, it was like I was getting, eaten up by mosquitoes. I lost a good pair of sunglasses. I'm, hoping to find my sunglasses, I think, with my metal detector.
But
But
also Diego talked about like if it's a like a fake rock, right?
Mhm.
Like like you're tapping rocks and you're moving along or whatever, but if you have something that looks like a rock and you use a metal detector on it, it's gonna
Oh,
light it
yeah,
up.
that's going to be so
Oh
hard.
man,
I think
that was
that.
really rude to start including that hashtag, man.
Yeah, so go back and look. If you go back and look at his TikToks, you'll see it. But that also lends credence more to, and again, he could be that could be any box that he's talking about, but it could lend credence to the fact that this is the no bufalot means not a national park service, so you can bring metal detectors here. So there's that piece of it. Yeah, we were talking about going back down there and finding the spot. I'm gonna be definitely with my metal detector. I forget what else you asked. You asked something else on that chat. I can't remember what
No,
it.
just I think you're going to be really excited to go down. And when you're planning this, next month, it sounds like.
Yeah, like the first week of November is the plan right now to go down there. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens one way or another, to see what you find
I
that
feel pretty
third
good
code.
about it. Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. And there's also there's other things, other clues. I don't know how much time you have left on this one, but I know we've gone over way probably what you
I'll
intended.
get through a few.
But yeah, the coin, I think that's putting you in the dry creek bed, and it's just pointing back to where you need to be. Um, I think Joy's Serenade is verse 2, verse 4, and verse 5 actually apply to this solve. I
Okay.
That's
believe,
interesting. I hadn't thought about Joy Serenade in that way, that different verses could apply to different solves, and it's because it like applies to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
yes. Actually, the point other thing I wanted to bring up was the another thing that John has been putting on his hashtags, or he did it once, I think, geocaching. This
Okay.
place has a page on their website for geocaching. Geocaching is allowed in this spot, and they actually tell you where the geocaches are. Now, my spot's not on the geocache list, unfortunately,
So,
but
fun fact, you can't, there are a lot, if you're into geocaching, you know this. If you're not into geocaching but familiar with the idea, there are a lot of restrictions, like you cannot hide geocaches in national parks. There are a lot of restrictions on where you can hide actual geocaches. So if he is like hashtagging geocache, that means it's in a place where that would be accepted.
Yeah.
and this page has it. This place has a web page, its own web page about the geocaches that are hidden in this area.
Okay.
So it's
Nice.
yeah. So there's that. So there's it sounds pretty good, right? So those are the big clues there. The verse 2 is on Enjoy Serenade. It talks about it says our conductor, as with a trace of a baton through the air, gives direction. While the coda is incomplete, there's a flutter of excitement around. The conductor, being Coltrane, he was a band leader.
Mm,
He's giving the direction. The direction is Alabama, but it's incomplete. You only know Alabama from the conductor, Coltrane.
right.
And there's some specific butterfly things related to this location that could give you the flutter of excitement. So, um, yeah.
Okay.
And so I do believe, I have, verse 1, I think is definitely is Forrest Fenn. Verse 6 is Forrest Fenn. Verse 3 is past and future. You've looked at Past and Future, right? So Past and
Yeah.
Future is you're pointing at me again. Okay.
No, I'm pointing at Chaz, but you can't tell because there's just one
Yeah,
camera.
right. My ears pricked up.
There you go. Yeah, because chapter hold on, I'll get to Joyce Serenade here real quick. The verse 3 talks about see how far you'll go, use will straight edge as the turning square or any arc may align at a proper point. The word
Yes.
search is your turning square. I think
Yes.
we talked about this, right?
Yes.
I think that's, yeah, I definitely think that's and again, like this is no imaginary wonderland. He talks about the game Adventure in that chapter, the Atari game. And this is no imaginary wonderland. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Mhm.
Now look, the last part of it, the Zork text game. Look was like a big clue. Look at this. Look here. Whatever. It's a text-based game.
Yeah.
I think that's the Zork reference. So anyway, that's another
Yeah,
podcast.
that's very good.
And
We'll
if
have to
there's
bring in our
anything else that's like a acid trip, it's Alice in Wonderland.
yeah,
We're
that's
back to that. We're back to John doing LSD and
Yeah.
just randomly hiding stuff around the country.
Oh
and
yeah.
luck
I mean,
all-
I'm totally taking him for a total experience life kind of guy.
I'm going to throw this one out there. I shouldn't, but he talks about earlier in the story about the army of croakers that Froaky's face reminded him of an army of croakers he saw before. There's an organization that's called Frog Watch USA, and they have chapters all over the country, and their mission is to study the calls of frogs, the croaking of frogs. And if you may not know this, Chaz, but USA does not just stand for United States of America. It stands for U.S. Army. That's the
Okay.
abbreviation for the Army. Like being
Right.
military, I know that's what Army is. So Frog Watch, USA, Army, they study the croaking sounds of the frogs. It's close to this place. Anyway, I
Yeah.
think it's a confirmer of this.
And also, frogmen are the Navy SEALs. They
That's
refer to
true.
themselves
I'm
as
not sure how
frogmen.
that relates to the Army of Croakers, but
Well, they refer to themselves as frogmen.
yes.
If there's a Navy base nearby.
You've totally lost me, man. I'm not sure how that relates to the Army of Croakers.
it's
Is there a
not
Navy of
Amy.
Croakers? Is there a boat of Croakers?
Army and Navy, they're two different things, but frogmen could be whatever. Fine, I'm gonna.
All right. Well, if it's
I like where your head's
frogmen,
at. I like
if
where
it's
your head's at.
Navy, then I guess management gets a trip to Europe.
There you go.
Okay,
I'm retired Air Force, so I don't care about any of the other two there. So
Okay.
no, it's fun. But no, that's just another one that I thought. Again, yeah, I feel pretty good about this one. I feel like it's pretty logical. I'm happy to walk you guys through more details on the other ones, and yeah, I think it's Alabama for sure, and I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. So it's
I
like
that's
on video.
fantastic. Well, by the way, if you like there's Treasure Inside Edition, make sure you go to treasurehunttoken.com and we give you instructions there how to pick up some treasure hunt tokens. Thank you very much, Bruce, for coming and laying it all out for us. Very logical. I like it. Best Pokemon theory I've heard so far, even though it's the only one.
I was going to say probably the only one.
The only one, but very logical to me. So I'm very curious to see what that creek bed looks like that you're looking towards. We need photos.
I have photos, but again, I don't know how you're going to get a real accurate one because I mean, in Alabama, everything's growing constantly, and it's just green stuff and here and there, and yeah, I just think it's just a general. Hey, you're in the creek bed. Here's where go back this way. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack on that picture, but I narrowed it down to the most basic thing I could kind of tie to. So we'll see. That's where I get hung up. It's like, is that what that means? Because it's a half a page of the book. It's got to mean something, right?
Yeah,
So
I would think so. But we'll have to have you back on. You might look 90 years old after going through all this.
we're gonna get in a fight for a second.
After going through this heart-wrenching process, but I'm confident you'll come out with something out of this. And I'll have to cancel my flight to New Orleans. Okay, so thank you very much, Bruce, for joining us. Thank you very much, management. And we'll catch everyone else next time. Bye, everyone.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Bye.